All right, this is the first episode of American Makers Radio. This podcast is really just me trying to understand what it takes to make things in America today and why people still choose to do it here. I'm in the middle of building a small American made golf apparel brand myself and pretty quickly realized I don't actually understand how a lot of this works, from cotton to fabric to finished product. So the idea with this podcast is pretty simple. Just talk to folks who are actually doing it and learn from them. Today I'm talking with Jeremy Brown from the Texas Organic Cotton Marketing Co-op. Jeremy, I'd love to start simple. Can you tell me a little bit about your background, what Texas Organic Cotton Marketing Co-op is, and what you guys do out there day to day?
Well, first off, it's a privilege to be with you today and talk about organic cotton. It's a niche market that a lot of people probably don't think about at times when they go and buy their apparel or any cotton made products. Fourth generation cotton farmer here in South Plains of Texas, which is on the western side of the state. We're about 2 hours away from New Mexico state line, so kind of gives people an idea where we farm. I grew up farming with my dad, my granddad. Most farming's a generational business. They were not organic. However, when I was in college, my dad quit farming, and so my avenue to farm, that door was closed. And so there's a whole story behind all that I won't get into today, but I was away from it for about eight, 8 to 10 years that I was trying to do other things, got my degree, but my love and passion for farming, I just couldn't get away from it. So with the help of my wife's father, my father-in-law, I was able to get back into farming in 2010. Um, right as I got back into it, I'd been learning more about organic farming. I've been seeing the growing demand for organic products. Um, and so one of the farms that I took on, I was able to put it right into organics. And when I did that, I was growing organic cotton. And as a farmer, you've got to have a place to sell your product. It's great to grow something, but if nobody wants to buy it, it really does you no good. And so I quickly found out about the Texas Organic Cotton Marketing Cooperative. It's an organic cooperative that sells organic cotton. So basically, it brings in all the organic cotton that's grown in the area, and asked to be a member so that I could sell my cotton to them, and then they go off and sell it for me, help me to sell it. That was in 2010, and if you fast forward to where we are today, the operation that I personally farm is we farm about 4,000 acres of organic crops, mostly cotton. And I have the privilege today to serve as the president of the board of the Texas Organic Cotton Marketing Cooperative. So it started off with me just needing somebody to sell my cotton to, because it's a cooperative, you have a board of directors elected by the shareholders. Over time elected me to serve on the board, and then today I serve as the president of that board. And so I work hand in hand with, us as a board member. We work with our CEO to continue to develop the market, continue to hopefully promote and uh, you know encourage people to buy organic cotton. And so we work with brands and retailers and merchants and mills and all kinds of different people that are in the cotton industry. And so, yeah, it's been quite a journey. I love farming organically. It's got its own challenges, but I love doing it that way, and I love the relationship side of the business that's really unique when you have a niche market. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think the Texas Organic Cotton Marketing Cooperative is a really cool thing, and I'm happy to be working with you guys personally. Um, so fourth generation farmer, that is a lot of farming. Has it been cotton pretty much the whole time?
Yeah. So my great grandfather, I remember, he was still around when I was a kid growing up. And so, where we farm in West Texas, it's a dry climate, very limited rainfall, which helps actually is a benefit to being an organic cotton farmer, just because we have very low insect pressure. With low rainfall, we have low weed pressure, which are our two biggest challenges. Is weeds. What are you going to do with that? And insects. And then also we get a kill and freeze that helps desiccate the plant. Where people don't realize that if you're growing cotton, you've got to kill the plant to harvest it. Well, most cotton that's not organic uses herbicides. Most of them are really, really quite toxic um, ways to kill the plant. We're unique out here that we, as an organic farmer, will get a kill and freeze to desiccate the plant. So, anyways, but yeah, my grandfather grew cotton. My grandfather grew cotton. My dad grew cotton. So yeah, I been growing cotton for a long time. But like I said, organic cotton, I'm the first one to do that. Now, if my great grandfather was here today, he'd probably look at a lot of the things that I do that he's like, well, we did those too back in his time because they
Right.
didn't have the herbicides. They didn't have the synthetic fertilizers, the herbicides, the genetically modified seed that a lot of farmers have today. So they were using a lot of the techniques that we're using, and a lot of maybe some of the seed varieties that we use. So yeah, it's in my blood. I really, um, it's what I know. It cotton is one of those plants that's kind of a love hate relationship because it's kind of a fickle plant, and it you need a lot of things to work in your favor to harvest a good crop. And sometimes when you're a low rainfall environment, a lot of that's out of your control. So
Yeah, so does the low rainfall environment actually make organic cotton kind of the ideal crop for you guys to be working on out there?
I think so.
Yeah.
Now, if you ask my neighbors, no. There's not many organic cotton farmers in our area. For instance, in our co-op, I think we have around 30 farm families that are a part of our co-op, and a lot of those only have maybe one organic farm, and then the rest of their operation is not organic. Um, I think there's like 3 million acres of cotton grown here in where I farm, and in our co-op, we're about a 20,000 acre um, part of so we have about 20,000 acres that of members. Now there are a few people out there that grow cotton, organic cotton, that are not a part of our co-op. I don't know how many acres those are total, but within our co-op we have around, like I said, 25,000 acres. And like I said, there's probably around 3 million acres that are planted around us, so we're very small.
Yeah, you guys are
um,
tiny.
yeah, yeah, we are. And so that does present challenges, with the high use of herbicides that are used in conventional cotton. We're always fighting drift, trying to make sure your neighbor doesn't drift on you with their herbicide.
Right.
That
Wow.
seems like that's just an always challenge. We try to work with our neighbors, try to be, we put buffer zones, a period of land separating us from our neighbors, to try to mitigate that. But sometimes we'll have a neighbor that they're out there spraying when the wind's blowing right at you, and that's not a fun day when that happens.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, seriously. Wow. So if folks are coming to the Texas Organic Cotton Marketing Co-op to help sell their product, their organic cotton, why does the cooperative need to exist? Why is it such a challenge to sell organic cotton? Is it because it's more expensive?
No, so well, yeah, you're charging a higher price, but like say we have a customer that needs 5,000 bales of organic cotton. Well, I can't grow. It'd be hard for me to grow 5,000 bales just to meet that one customer's demand. So what we do
I
is
see.
we take all the cotton, we pull it together. So we have one lump sum of cotton, and then we work with these brands and retailers and mills, and like say, because you'll be, one company might need 5,000, the next company needs 500, and then the next company needs 3,000. And so, you need a good amount of cotton, and you need a good amount of quality. Everybody's quality specifications are different. If you're going to like uh, a spinnable cotton, which would be your shirts, that's a higher quality needed cotton.
Right.
Now, a lot, and we grow some of that. We also grow a little bit lower quality, but that's great for your non-woven lines. So, and we have non-woven customers. We a lot of our cotton actually in the organic cotton world goes to non-wovens. That would be like cotton pads, tampons, anything like, sheets, bedding, towels, a lot of that stuff. A lot of our cotton will go into that market. And then we do have other, some spinnable cotton that goes into, t-shirts, shirts, apparel, I guess is what I'm trying to say. But so it'd be really hard for one grower to sit there and have those relationships because, say we have a customer and they're like, hey, I need this amount of bales with this kind of quality specifications. And if I was just a one shop farmer, it'd be hard for me to, I mean, I don't, maybe I grew, let's just say I grew 3,000 bales and only, 1,000 of those fit what they need. So that's the benefit of the co-op where we take, to say the 30 families that we have, the 20,000 acres that we grow, whatever that yield is from that year, we pull all that cotton together. We have a spreadsheet and data where we can ship and say, all right, you need this, here's what you need. And so we can meet those customers' demands and hopefully have that our co-op was established in 1993. Now, if anybody knows the history of organic really didn't get going until around then. That's when the National Organic Program was created a standard that, this is U.S. grown organic cotton standard that's by our government under the USDA. In our co-op, there was I think 5 or 6 families out here that started it with no market. And so you fast forward where we are 30 years later, was really at the sacrifice and the benefit of those early farmers that went out there and created those relationships.
Right.
Like I said, when I started talking earlier, I mentioned that when you grow something, you need to have somebody that's going to willing to pay you for it
Right.
and values that product. And organic is not only from a health and environment and all the other things, but it is a value added crop, meaning like it should be, because of the challenge that we face to grow organic, it should be paid a little bit of a premium over conventional grown cotton because it's grown differently. And so, think about 30 years ago, these farmers had a product, who's going to buy it? And they went out there, knocked on doors, and we had some early customers like Patagonia
Yeah.
and some of these other customers that were like, man, we believe in it. And, there's a handful of other ones that were there from the very beginning, and we've had those relationships, and others have come along, some have left. But that's one of the things I just love about it is having those relationships. I love, for instance, there's a mattress company that buys a lot of our organic cotton. I have 5 kids. Most all of our mattresses come from that company, so there's a really good chance that what I'm sleeping on at night comes from one of my farms, and I love that. I love, you know, um, going out to Patagonia and meeting with them, and they love our cotton, and they're committed, and so those relationships are really, as a farmer that really strives to, um, it takes a lot of pride in what I do. It's fun to have those kind of relationships.
Yeah, I could see that. They're validating what you work so hard to do.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
That's really cool. So you mentioned conventional cotton. So, like, just from a 30,000-foot view, what are the main differences between organic and conventional cotton?
Yeah. So, um, when you're an organic farmer, you cannot use any synthetic fertilizers. So, you can't use any fertility that you can go buy from. I mean, there's some organic products out there, but they have to be approved. Um, we can't use any synthetic fertilizer. We cannot use any herbicides. No Roundup. No, I mean, the list goes on and on of the approved herbicides for over the top of cotton. We cannot use genetically modified seed, um, and so most farms, cotton farms, use genetically modified seed. They use high rates of herbicides and high rates of fertilizers. And so, from a soil health perspective, those are damaging to the health of the soil. They're damaging to our climate, our health. I have no desire, as like I said, I have 5 kids. The
Right.
more I go down, not only am I an organic farmer, also a regenerative farmer, which to me they go hand in hand. But I really focus a lot about health and health of the soil and the climate, and so there's a lot of things. Uh, there's a lot of things that have been created that for farming that help. Like, let's just say they're a tool in your toolbox. Um, Meaning, like, if I have a weed pressure, when they created genetically modified cotton seed and they put a gene in there that you can now spray Roundup over the top of your cotton and it would kill the weeds, but it wouldn't kill the cotton. Um, you know, and my dad was one of those. I mean, I get how farmers like, wow, this is going to be,
Life changing.
revolutionary. Yeah, but we didn't. It's like everything. We don't realize the unintended consequences
Right.
of what that causes. Now we're starting to see the damages to glyphosate. Not only that, we have resistant weeds now that are resistant to glyphosate. And so now if I were to go buy just a bag of cotton seed that is not organic, that's GMO, you can spray 3 different herbicides. I mean, they just keep adding more and more herbicides because the plants will get resistant, and then they just have to add another one. And like I said, when I started out, I was kind of in that camp, um, and I just kept seeing my chemical use just get more and more, and
Yeah.
they'd say, "Oh, you need this," and then like I said, just the chemicals that are used to defoliate, which when I say defoliate, that's to terminate the plant so you can harvest it, because you want to open the bolls of cotton and you want to drop all the leaves off. Okay, well, there's chemicals that they use to basically make the plant do that. Man, when you look at the ingredients on those, I had no desire to be around that. Um, I don't want it in the air. It is in the air
Yeah.
because of where I live.
Right.
And so, and I'm not, I'm not one to throw rocks at my neighbor farmers that do that. That's their decision. Um, but I just choose not to be a part of. And then just the nature of big agriculture, big ag. When I say big ag, the big chemical companies, and they're the ones making a lot of money right now, and farmers are really suffering from a financial standpoint because of input costs. Well, and so there's just a lot of things that I could spend probably an hour talking about
Yeah.
why I think organic cotton's important, but it hopefully, I feel like there's a segment of the population that values that.
Definitely.
Um, and, you know, we see that, I think food, food probably, organic food probably would been the first thing that people would buy, say if they're shopping, they're going to probably start with organic food. And then as they continue down that process, they, realize that your skin's the biggest organ on your body. So it matters, what you wear and sleep in and, all those things. And so, and plus just the way the farmers farm, I think matters. So,
Yeah, I'm hoping, and I think it will be kind of like the Whole Foods, organic foods movement back in the 60s, 70s, 80s, where it was kind of a fringe thing. It wasn't really common knowledge amongst the population that the way food is grown and the type of food you consume, how big of an impact that can have on your health and the environment. Hopefully, people start moving in that direction as far as textiles go as well. I mean, I know 2, 3 years ago, I knew nothing about it, but just since I've learned a little bit about it over the last couple years, it kind of blows my mind how important it is.
yeah, no, it is. And we're seeing that, after COVID, I think you saw even a more of a um, concern, interest, whatever you want to call it, where people were um, more asking questions. Where does my food and fiber come from?
Right.
Um, I saw a study, and I wish I had reference of who put it out, but that millennials, the generation now, that they almost feel guilty if they can't afford organic. Like there's this kind of this
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
and like you said, I mean, it's a value added, but weed organically in my home, and we
Right.
yeah, if, if I was watching, I read a study yesterday that our nation spends more on healthcare than any nation in the world. Well, if we all started getting back to taking care of our bodies and stewarding our land, I mean, hopefully we'd see that trend go down. And so I think there's just a lot of things that are accumulating that are causing people to, you know, really look at the labels, look at how it's grown,
Right.
look at, um, the benefits of organic farming and regenerative farming. So, yeah.
Yeah, you mentioned just a second ago that a lot of like the youngest generation might feel guilty about not being able to afford organic clothing. Like for instance, there's a brand that I love called American Giant. And they're completely American made and I think they use some organic cotton, and of course Patagonia uses all organic cotton, but it's so expensive. Uh Personally, I can't afford to throw all my clothes away just to get the new ones with organic cotton. So what do you think the solution is there? Just more volume, more awareness, both?
Yeah. Yeah, I think anytime you could have, more education and awareness of organic farming. But yeah, at the end of the day, I mean, it all, everybody's got price points that they can afford to do. Um, like I said, in our world, you know, I'm always amazed at how people are like, well, I can't afford to do that. And then they're in Starbucks line every day buying a $5 coffee drink. So I'm like, well, it really comes down to like what's important to
Yeah,
you.
what do you
And
prioritize?
yeah, what are you prioritizing? I mean, I don't know. I've got people that I know that, they're always like, I can't afford to do that. And I'm like, yeah, but you got a iPhone and
Yeah.
other things. And so, yeah, I guess it kind of just really depends on what's important to you and how important that is to you. Um, and like I said, there's only there's a segment of our population that don't care, and they're going to buy at Walmart, and that's what they're going to shop at, and for their food and their fiber. And but I think the segment of the population that is asking the right questions and being more concerned is growing.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, volume would help. It's like basic economics. The more supply, the lower the price will go down because there's more supply, and we're seeing that right now. We were selling organic cotton 2 years ago, way higher than we are today.
Okay.
A lot of that was just the global economy is not great. Everybody's dealing with inflation.
Right.
And so that's one of the benefits of our co-op also is we try to adjust our pricing, that so that we can meet that customers where they're at. But we also, we got to take care of our farmers too. So there's a balance there. It's also, I mean, there's only as a farmer, I mean, I know where my break even is, and I can't, it's not like I'm trying to get rich over here, but I want to
Right.
be profitable. So there's a balance there. Also, I think the struggle we face today in the organic cotton world in the United States is a big thing. If you go to the store and you buy something and it says organic cotton, unless it says U.S. grown organic cotton, there's a good chance it's probably coming from India or Turkey. There's some integrity that I'm not sure about. There's some things that are concerning, but it's a lot cheaper. And so we're working with a brand right now. I don't want to say their name, but everybody knows them. That they've been buying their organic. I mean, they're a huge American company, and they buy it all from India.
Yeah.
And so we're trying to work with them, but let's just be real. They buy it at very cheap prices,
Yeah.
and I couldn't be in business at that price.
Right.
And so we're trying to figure out, well, is there a niche market, like a market that you have within your business that you could charge a little higher price and justify, and then say it was US grown and promote that. And so I think that's, we're working with them on that, trying to make that happen. Um, but yeah, and that's something I want people to understand. If you were to go to the store and you were to buy, say, a T-shirt and it said organic cotton, U.S. grown, um, that's going to come from where I farm because there's no other place in the United States that grows organic cotton, upland cotton, uh, except for in this region. Okay, so like if you look at the cotton belt, the southeast. the South Texas, Arizona, none of them grow organic cotton. Now, California does grow some organic Pima cotton, which is a longer staple cotton that would go into like your really fine shirts.
Hmm.
But they don't grow a lot of it. So that's also unique. Like uh, not everybody can grow organic cotton. The Delta, the Southeast, they have way too much rainfall. Their insect pressure is way too high.
Right.
They don't get killing freezes. The same thing with South Texas. Same thing with Arizona. So, anyways, that makes us unique also. So, we feel like we have a value there to say, we're a something that's unique. It can only be grown in a certain part of the United States. It is done with integrity because of the National Organic Program under the USDA. Um, and so, hopefully, you know, there are people out there that value that. So,
Yeah, there definitely are. I'm one of them. And like you were saying, something I've noticed is you go to the store, you see a shirt that says organically grown cotton or ethically cut and sewn in India or China or whatever. And that might be true, but how can we verify that? I mean, we're not there. We're here in America
yeah,
where we can
yeah,
go to the farm and make sure everything is up to standard and you're doing what you say you're doing in the cut and sew facility and make sure they have great work conditions. We can actually verify it here, but over there, it's just, it's half a world away and there's no way to verify it.
yeah,
So that was
yeah,
really interesting that you said that because that's been on my mind a lot. Um, a big part of this brand that I'm building is American made. That's the biggest part. And to me, like having American made materials is the only way to keep it truly American made. Like cutting and sewing Indian cotton in America, that just doesn't quite uh that it just doesn't quite meet the standards that I'm hoping to keep this up to. So I'm really happy you said that. So
yeah. Well, and the challenge that you're probably finding this in the textile industry. The problem is there's no mills really left in the United
I
States,
know.
that can. And there's so many steps in that process to get it to where you know whatever you need it, whether it's non-woven or spinnable cotton. That's the challenge that we face too. Like we have a customer that, I'm not going to say names because I don't want to, they might not want everybody to know that, but it has to go to Mexico. You know, so we ship the bells to Mexico. The mills in Mexico, they make it into the way that the brand wants it,
Yeah.
and that's just mainly because there's nobody in the United States to do it anymore. What I think is it spin healing,
Hill spinning.
uh, hill spinning that
Yeah.
still does some,
Yep.
but
Mark Leonard.
I know even in my personal farm operation, we sell some organic wheat on our website, and we thought it'd be cool that maybe if we could sell some organic hand towels, just if people wanted to buy them where they knew they came from my farm. And man, we just kept hitting roadblock after roadblock just because it was so small. Like I only needed, one bale of cotton and to do what I wanted to do. So yeah, that's a challenge right now. For sure. So
Yeah, you touched on another question that I had, which was I've realized that, I mean, over the last couple years since I've been working on this, that a lot of the cotton that's grown domestically in the States is shipped overseas before it's turned into fabric. Um, you basically just did, but why do you or you basically just told me that, but why do you think that's happening? Is it because we have no mills like you mentioned, or is it because it's cheaper, or is it all the above?
all the above.
Yeah,
Yeah, these other countries that are milling cotton, their labor is so cheap.
yeah,
And uh and so all the mills have moved overseas, China, India, you know, some in South America, Taiwan. I mean, they're all over the world except for the United States, Mexico. Um, that's the big, especially if it's spinnable cotton, like for apparel.
right.
Now the non-wovens a little bit different. Like I said, a lot of the non-wovens we can kind of stay somewhat in the United States. Um, but that's one of the companies that I was talking about earlier that they're a big American company. They're on, you hear their radio ads and stuff like that. Um, like we're working with them right now, trying to get them some cotton, and that's the problem we're running into is where are we going to process it?
Right.
And it just seems crazy. I mean, you think about all the energy we spend to ship a bale of cotton across the world,
Yeah.
and then they process it and ship it back. I mean, you would think that we could you know do that cheaper, but unfortunately, that's an industry that left, and it would take a lot to get it back.
Right.
And I'm all for it. I'm just finding people out there that's willing to um, to do that. There used to be a mill. I mean, it wasn't that long ago. We had a denim mill here, just in the area that I farm, that would make denim for Levi's and Wrangler, and it closed its doors and
Yeah.
moved to South America. And so it's unfortunate to see that. I mean, I would have thought of course, I wasn't in those meetings on their financials, but I would have thought it would have been extremely profitable. I mean, you're not shipping it; it's just right here.
Yeah,
But
the margin should be
um,
better.
yeah, but I think with regulations and on denim and the dyes, and they had a lot of things that they were um, having to pay probably twice as much just because of our over regulations. And I'm not saying they're not bad. I'm just saying some of them get pretty costly for a business in the United States, and so yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of amazing that you mentioned, Hill Spinning because they're the ones who spin the cotton that goes into our jackets, which is coming from you, and that just kinda goes to show that I think Hill Spinning might be the last spinner that spins organic cotton in the country.
Yeah, to my knowledge. Um, and we work with them a lot. We have we try to we'll have company we have people that contact us a lot that are kind of in the early stages, and that's normally who we direct them to first
Right.
if they want to try to stay in the United States. Yeah.
So if someone
Yeah.
did wanna keep the whole process here, not send the cotton to India or Mexico or whatever, keep the whole process here where it's spun here, knitted here, and cut and sewn here, what would the what do you think the solution would be?
Well, I just think working with mills like Hill Spinning, or
Yeah.
hopefully if there was enough demand that others would maybe look at doing that again, getting back into the business. I don't know what the startup cost would be for something like that.
Right.
Uh, you know, it there's a lot to it. If you've ever been to a spinning mill, it's a lot of technology today. It's pretty amazing to watch actually, but um, I don't know. That's the side of business I don't know
Right.
what it would take. To me, it makes sense. To me, it's kind of a no brainer, but
Me
for
too.
whatever reason. Yeah, for whatever reason, and I think a lot of that went back to back in the days when we were trying to help these third world countries develop labor and jobs, and it did. I mean, there's a lot of those countries that they buy a lot of cotton, not just not just organic, but a lot. I mean, all the U.S. cotton, Brazil cotton, it all goes to a lot of Asian countries.
Right.
And they don't grow a bale. It's just crazy to
Yeah,
me.
they just get the cotton
But,
from you, and then they spin it
yeah,
and turn it into clothes that we wear
yeah,
and buy for $12.
yeah, for cheap, yeah,
Yeah.
cheap clothing, yeah.
Alright, well, let's shift gears a little bit. I only have a couple more questions left for you. So my background is in golf. I've been a caddy at courses in the Carolinas all throughout college and post college as well. And there's definitely a lot of misconceptions about caddies that bug me a little bit. And I was wondering if there's any like general misconceptions about American cotton farming that bug you at all. Like, is there anything that people just assume that isn't right, or is there anything you would want people to know about American cotton farming that you think is important?
Yeah, I don't, I think it all right, so two groups of people there. If you talk about cotton farming in general, so you say you lump all farmers together, whether they're organic or not organic, sometimes there's this misconception that, you know, we're getting over here rich, and Our profit margins are extremely tight. Um, uh, the cost to farm is extremely tight. Um, there's a lot of things that you know farmers deal with that are out of our control. Mainly the weather. I mean, where I farm, well, let's just take today for example. Today it is so dry that if it didn't change in the next 30, 40 days, I'm not going to have much of a crop at all. Um, because we'll start planting in May. There's no underground submoisture. We hadn't had a significant rain since October. So we're in a severe drought. I don't know if people really understand the risk that we take
Yeah.
to do what we do. Um, yes, our government values farmers, and so we have crop insurance and we have tools that the government subsidizes that help us stay in business. But um, those can only help so much. So I don't know if people really at the end of the day appreciate the risk and the challenges that any farmer takes, whether they're growing cotton or any crop, whatever crop it is. It's a volatile business. It's a risky business. It's a business that can you borrow a lot of money to do it, and then you hope you can pay it back at the end of the year. And so that's a challenge. Uh, if I put my organic farmer hat on, I wish people did know about the high use of herbicides and things that it takes to grow cotton. I think people would be more interested in organic cotton. For instance, like right now, you know, the biggest the biggest challenge we face as cotton farmers is synthetic fibers.
Yeah.
It's polyester.
Right.
Okay. Polyester is, I mean, it's just crazy. I mean, and I get it. I mean, a mill can say, I want this and they can make exactly what they want. Especially in golf apparel. I mean, a lot of apparel. I mean, it's got, a lot of it's 100% polyester or,
Almost all of it,
the Under
especially
Armour.
in golf.
Yeah. So, right now where we sit today, if we could just get 1% of that market share back to natural fibers, so like the cotton, um, you could see the cotton price really go back to a level that is profitable for farmers. Right now, it's not. Like, if if you're not an organic farmer and you're just growing or just cotton in general, the price that cotton is selling right now is below break even. So uh, the farmer's already losing money. Like, and so 1% of that market share. So if the consumer would just start saying, say they didn't want to buy 100% cotton shirt, but say a 50-50 blend, things like that. And so
Mm.
the cotton industry, let's just say the National Cotton Council, Cotton Incorporated, which I'm a member of, I mean, because I grow cotton, they're really promoting this plant, not plastic, really trying to educate people about microfibers and plastic, microplastic fibers that are in our water and our bodies, and so I'm all for that. I totally believe that. I just sometimes wonder as an organic farmer, like, okay, we're talking about the plastics, microplastics, but we're kind of not talking about the chemicals
Yeah.
that are being used to grow the cotton. So that's kind of a controversial. Um, my neighbor cotton farmers would probably throw rocks at me if but
It's alright, they're not
as
gonna
a
hear
guy,
this.
no, well, no, they're not. I mean, and so um, I would tell the consumer that's listening to me first. My first thing would be look at the labels and at least try to buy 50-50 blends,
Right.
if not 100% cotton, start there. And if you can afford, you know, 100% organic cotton, or, that would be my goal for you. But if you could just, I want to see every cotton farmer succeed. I want them all to be profitable. The debt and the stress and man, I'm telling you, it's real. I get it. I deal with it too.
Yeah.
When you're growing a crop and you're not going to make any money, and you're kind of like, why am I doing this? I mean, so, um, it, I mean, you love what you do, but you can only, you can only have so many losses. So,
Right.
yeah, I would just, that's the thing. I just would love to see, and I get it. I got a 15-year-old son, and he loves his Under Armour and his all this stuff, and it stinks. Like I can't stand the smell of it. It just the odor of it, but it's the all the things that they claim. The Lululemon, all these brands that the yoga pants. I mean, we can just go on down the list, but if we could get the consumer to at least understand the value of natural fibers, start there, and appreciate that, versus when we talk about all this health stuff, like I said, look at the microplastics that are in your. I mean, the studies are out there. They're finding them in your brain. They're finding
Yeah.
them. So start there, and hopefully buy organic cotton. That's my hope. But yeah.
Yeah, I'm definitely with you. Buy organic cotton. All right, so this last question is kind of just for my sister because she'll be like one of three people listening to this. Um, she's a big environmental person. That's what she majored in college. I can't remember the specific major, but I've heard you talk about regenerative farming as well as cover crops. Can you just explain to us what those are briefly? You don't have to go into too much depth.
Yeah. So, a new thing that you're hearing a lot about in the last, let's just say last 10 years, is this idea of regenerative farming, which is really, focuses on six soil health principles of really focuses on the health of the soil. Like, there's some organic farmers that, even though they don't use chemicals and herbicides, maybe they're using a lot of tillage, a lot of erosion, a lot of diesel fuel. So, as a regenerative farmer, I'm also a regenerative farmer. To me, being a regenerative farmer and an organic farmer go hand in hand because I don't have those tools of fertilizer and other things. I have to grow the fertility that I need to grow the crop. And so, yeah, in my farm operation, and this is me personally, I use a lot of cover cropping mixes. We use a lot of so like when we're not growing cotton, uh, we try to plant, oh man, 5, 6 different species of plants to all for soil health, all to feed the microbes, all to capture nitrogen, all to capture carbon from the atmosphere and release it into the soil through root exudates. And then we try to graze it with livestock. Those are other soil health benefits. And so really, really, and then I mean, you can just go on the list down the road that, if the ground's covered, you don't have bare soil, that helps with the heat. Um, you're capturing carbon. That's the only way you can do that. There's solar panels growing. That's what we call them. Anytime you got a leaf structure, it helps with the structure of your soil. So when you do get a rain, you don't have any runoff. And so, yeah, we're doing all kinds of things that we can. Now, I will say in my dry climate, there's challenges to all that. When you try to do things and it doesn't rain, you're kind of, well, we tried. But you stick with it. And so, yeah, we're doing a lot of regenerative farming, and that's fun. I love that part of it. Um, I love the livestock part of it. I love a lot of the things that we're doing to try to make the soil healthier, and capture carbon, which helps with climate change and all these wonderful things. To me, like I said, as an organic farmer, regenerative just is a natural fit.
Yeah.
Now I know there's different opinions out there about that, but yeah. So and it's always changing. I mean, what works one year sometimes it doesn't work the next year, and it's just. But yeah, we're. I love that side of the farm. That's the fun stuff that I get to do and try to see the soil improve. I love the livestock part of it. The cattle and the sheep and
Yeah.
um, just I love being able to, and it doesn't always work out, but I love it when I have a farm that yields just as good as my neighbors. And I didn't put out the synthetic fertilizers.
Right.
I didn't do it. I just use regenerative practices that believe God gave us that work. These are not some new ideas. These are probably some things that the Native Americans are doing. I mean,
Right.
understanding the benefit of a legume, the benefit of how 70% of the air that we breathe is nitrogen. And so it's in our atmosphere. If we can capture it into a plant through uh, through a legume, then and put it back in the soil, and then feed the microbes and all those things. So yeah, we do a lot of that, and it's fun. And I think you're starting to see the small segment of the population that understands regenerative farming, um, and that might be another value one day. I do we do have a customer that's wanting regenerative organic cotton, and so I'm working with them on that. It's another certification that you gotta get, and so I'm working on that to try to um, provide that for that customer. So yeah, it's fun. So yeah, but it's challenging. It's not.
Right.
It's not. I don't know. Sometimes I watch some guys on YouTube, and they're in an environment that rains 40 inches, and it's just like utopia, and
Yeah.
everything grows and
Just
it's
looks
green.
easy.
Yeah, and then out here, I'm like, man, I hadn't had a rain since October. My stuff's dead.
Right.
It's just like,
Yeah.
you know, um, yeah, and that's where if you ever study that stuff, there used to be five soil health principles, and a couple years ago they added a sixth one, and I put number six as number one. You got to know your context.
Yeah.
What a farmer can do in Iowa is different than a farmer in West Texas. What a farmer in West Texas can do is different than California. Every context is different. Every climate's different, and so
Right.
sometimes we want to create a box and we want to make sure everybody fits in that box. Well, in farming, you're dealing with nature. I mean, you can't. There's no. I mean, there's so many things that. I mean, hailstorms and rain and no rain, droughts. That you can't control. And I think a lot of people forget we've tried to make farming or agriculture in general like a machine. You know, let's just talk about dairy cattle and all these, and they just treat them like they're machines.
Yeah.
Um, and they're animals. I mean, and farming's that way too. It's not a machine. There's things that it's not like a computer. I can tell a computer I want you to do this, and it does that. It's not AI. I can't just say I want you to create this.
Yeah.
No, I can't.
You take what you
So
get.
you take what you get, and I think a lot of people don't. Unfortunately, because so many people are far removed from the farm today, they
Yeah.
don't even understand. They go to the grocery store and they just think it just shows up, and
Yeah.
it just and don't get me wrong. I mean, we live in a very interesting time where we have an abundance of food and fiber and more than we ever needed, and you know more supply than we've ever needed, and so it's interesting, but I think probably most people don't value it as much as they should. So
No, they'll value it when it's too late, maybe.
yeah,
It
yeah.
all kind of it actually reminds me of maintaining a golf course. Like there's so many golf courses, especially in the Southwest, that are using over 1 million gallons of fresh water each day
Mhm.
to
Yeah.
water their courses, and I it's almost for certain at some point we're going to need organic golf courses, and they'll probably only be able to exist in certain parts of the country. So it's all really interesting to me. So I guess last question: have you been watching the Masters at all, or do you follow
I haven't
golf
been
at all?
why I've been keeping up. I've been keeping no, yeah, I am. In fact, before I jumped on, I was listening to kind of the update about how Roy's so far ahead that
Yeah,
unless he just falls off today and or hits par, but they were talking about, like, even if he's one below par, it's gonna be hard for anybody to catch him
yeah,
on
exactly.
this. Yeah, so yeah, absolutely. I haven't got to sit down and watch it, but I've been reading the headlines and just kind of keeping up with it because I love the Masters. It's always I normally watch tomorrow's round, the final round, to just kind of
Yeah,
see. I always enjoy that, but yeah, it's good. There's a guy. He didn't play this. He's not doing so good this time, but last year he was a from Texas Tech. Luke. Um,
Clinton.
no, Luke. He's from Ireland. I think it's Ireland. He went to school at Texas Tech out
Oh,
here, and so we're kind of following him.
okay,
Luke
cool.
Yeah, and he did pretty good last year. He was kind of in that top, going into the final day. He was up there, but I don't think this go around. I hadn't seen how he's done, but so last year we were really kind of watching it because hey, Luke it's in the anywhere, but I'm saying his name wrong. It's anyways. My son's probably hearing me in the background, like, "What is wrong with you, Dad? It's not that hard." But um,
There's a lot of
anyway,
golfers.
so
It's
we
hard to remember everybody.
yeah, yeah, but like I said, since he went to school out here, the golf coach at Texas Tech University, his son and my son are friends, and so we
Oh,
kind of,
cool.
you know, especially, but yeah, it's good. But I don't get to play as much as I wish. When you got 5 kids and you farm, it's kind of like, man, if I ever get to play, it's because I was asked to be in a scramble or something.
Yeah.
So, anyways, if I can contribute a good putt here and there, I feel good about the day. So, yeah,
Yeah, it's a
but
time-consuming game. 5 kids in a farm, would probably take a small miracle for you to get out there, I'm sure.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It's my son really wants to start playing golf. We were actually talking about that yesterday, and so I really need to kind of try to introduce him to the game and then let somebody else try to teach him how to play because I'm not the person to do that. Um, but there's nothing more enjoyable. I had a meeting this week in Frisco, and the hotel was on a new PGA. It was like PGA something in Frisco,
Yeah.
and they were offering a round of golf at the meeting, and I had to get home. But I was like,
Oh,
man, this would have been
bummer.
a fun place to play. Yeah, it looked to me. It's just north of the Dallas Star, where the Dallas Cowboys practice.
Yeah.
So it's just north of there. So anyway, it's just a beautiful course, and I was like, man, this would have been fun. But anyways, life
Yeah.
is hard to do sometimes. But
Well, get your son into it, and that'll help get you on the golf course.
well, yeah, it would absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. No, he wants to. Yeah. I think he'll start driving in August. So when he can kind of drive himself go go get it some lessons and I'm not having
Yeah.
to shuffle him around, that will help.
That's
So
one of the
yeah.
cool things about golf. It's never too late. I mean, 16 is not too old to start playing. I mean, I'll caddy for folks
No.
who started playing at age 40 and they're pretty good.
Yeah. Yeah. No, absolutely. I probably didn't start till I was around his age.
Yeah.
And but no, that's good. Well, good, man. Well, I wish you the best. I hope it works out and on your endeavor. So I'm glad you're using organic cotton.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I'm glad you're growing it so I can use it. But yeah, thanks, Jeremy Brown. Thanks for coming on this first episode of American Makers Radio. And hopefully we can have a lot more folks like you on who are super insightful and help us learn. That's the whole goal of this.
yeah, I enjoyed it. Thank
All
you.
right. Thanks, Jeremy.